There is an ancient belief, passed down through generations in Japanese villages, that the bedroom is not just where you sleep, it's where your soul remakes itself every night. What if I told you that right now, inside your own bedroom, there are objects silently draining your energy, sabotaging your sleep, your peace, and even your prosperity? You don't see them as enemies. You might even like them. But the Japanese, for centuries, have understood something most of us overlook. Not everything that enters our home has permission to enter our rest. Today, you'll discover the 5 things Japanese people never keep in the bedroom, and the reason behind it, far deeper than aesthetics. Stay until the end, because the 5th one is the one that sparks the most resistance when people hear it for the first time. In Japan, there's a concept called the empty space, the interval between things. It's not absence, it's breath. It's the silence necessary for life to happen. In a Western culture accustomed to accumulating, decorating, filling every inch with objects, memories, and distractions, this idea sounds almost revolutionary. Emptiness has value. Emptiness is where rest lives. And the bedroom, for the Japanese, is the sacred territory of that emptiness. That's why, traditionally, the room where one sleeps carries as little as possible. Every object that reigns there must justify its presence, not by its usefulness, but by the energy it carries. Let's go through them, one by one.
I finally compiled everything from this channel into a book, The Complete Japanese Woman. It covers your wardrobe, finances, beauty routine, and home, all built around authentic Japanese principles rather than rigid rules. It's not about owning less or doing more. It's about becoming the woman who already has everything under control. And that includes 3 bonus tools to help you get started today: an identity checklist, a finance spreadsheet, and a wardrobe organization worksheet. It's a digital book, ready for immediate download. Download your copy via the link in the first pinned comment.
The first is perhaps the most well-known, and still the most ignored: mirrors pointed directly at the bed. In Japanese tradition, influenced by centuries of contact with Chinese Feng Shui and reinterpreted within its own culture, it is believed that mirrors duplicate energy. And duplicated energy, during sleep, the moment we are most vulnerable, most open, most unprotected, is not a blessing. It's overload. There's an old saying: whoever sleeps before their own reflection shares their rest with a stranger. The idea is that waking up in the middle of the night and seeing your own image distorted by darkness triggers a startled response in the subconscious, even if you don't notice it consciously. From a more practical standpoint, we now know that the brain, even in light sleep, continues processing visual stimuli. A reflected movement, a duplicated shadow, can be enough to keep the nervous system on low alert, preventing the deep, restorative sleep you're seeking. That's why in traditional Japanese homes, mirrors, when present in the bedroom, were covered at night, or positioned so they never directly reflected the person lying down. Here's something that surprises a lot of people, because in the West, it became a decorating trend, filling the bedroom with plants. But traditional Japanese wisdom disagrees. During the day, plants perform photosynthesis and release oxygen. But at night, the process reverses. They consume oxygen and release carbon dioxide, just like us. This means that while you sleep next to a plant, the two of you are silently competing for the same air. It's not a dramatic threat, true, but for a culture that values the subtle quality of energy, what the Japanese call ki, that small imbalance is reason enough to keep plants out of the bedroom, reserving them for the living room, the entryway, or the garden. There's even a proverb that sums up this logic well: give the plant the day and the body the night. Each element has its time, and overlapping those times is what creates disharmony. The third is, without a doubt, the one most lost to modern life: Laptops, work papers, financial documents, anything carrying the energy of duty, pressure, productivity. In Japanese philosophy, there's an almost sacred separation between spaces of action and spaces of retreat. The bedroom belongs to the second category. It's the place of non-doing. And when you bring in a symbol of a pending task, that laptop left open on the chair, that stack of bills on the dresser, you unknowingly turn the territory of rest into an extension of the office. The body may still fall asleep, but the mind, trained by association, remains in a state of productive alertness. That's why so many people report not being able to switch off at night. Often, the problem isn't in the head, it's in the environment the head inhabits. Zen masters used to say that every room in the house should have a single emotional function. Mixing functions means mixing energies that shouldn't touch. The fourth item is subtle, but deeply symbolic. Clocks, especially ones facing the bed or ones that tick constantly. For the Japanese, the bedroom should be the one space in the house where, for a few hours, time stops existing. It's the territory outside the ruler of the clock, outside the pressure of the schedule, outside the rush that dominates the rest of the day. A clock in plain sight, marking every passing minute, especially during a sleepless night, becomes a cruel reminder. You should already be asleep. Only 5 hours left until the alarm. This kind of time awareness is a well-known trigger for nighttime anxiety. That's why, traditionally, Japanese bedroom clocks, when present, were positioned so they weren't the first or last thing seen upon opening one's eyes. The body needs to wake up before the mind remembers the time. And we arrive at the fifth, which, as promised, tends to spark the most resistance. Objects of unknown origin or unresolved emotional weight. Inheritances kept out of obligation, gifts from relationships that have already ended, secondhand furniture acquired without any personal connection. The traditional Japanese belief around this comes from a concept called tsukumogami, the idea that objects, over time and use, absorb part of the energy and history of those who owned them. This isn't about ghosts or literal superstition, but a psychological principle that modern science, decades later, would come to confirm. Environments filled with unresolved memories keep the brain in a state of unconscious processing. If that object on your dresser belonged to a relationship that ended badly, or to a phase of life you haven't yet moved past, it's not just decoration. It's a silent trigger, revisited every night, even without your conscious awareness. Japanese tradition recommends, if the object doesn't bring clear, present joy, it doesn't belong in the space of rest. Either it gains new meaning through a ritual of gratitude and farewell, like the famous kuyo, a Japanese ceremony of thanking objects before letting them go, or it simply stops living in the bedroom. Looking at these 5 practices, you might notice something they have in common. None of them are about aesthetics. None of them are about the bedroom being pretty or Instagram-worthy. They're about energy, about intention, about the idea that the space where you recharge your body and mind deserves the same care you give to the rest of your life. The question that remains isn't how many of these rules do I follow. It's something simpler and more uncomfortable. When was the last time you looked at your bedroom, not as a place full of things, but as a place of peace? If this video resonated with you, hit like and tell me in the comments, which of these 5 are you removing from your bedroom today? And if you want to continue this journey through Japanese wisdom applied to modern life, the next video is already waiting for you.